Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So it's a little bit before 4 o'clock, 10 to 4, 29.1 degrees Celsius, 53% humidity. Yeah, it's still uncomfortable. It is 7/21 Tuesday, 84.9 degrees Fahrenheit. And you guys can see my solar cells are still working on charging the battery there. Every once in a while I get asked a question and I know what I hear, what people tell me or what they publish or what they do, but I always believe that you can't say definitively something could happen or not happen unless you actually do it. So one of the questions I've been asked, and I've been asked this a couple of times, and I think the person who asked it was Sims, S-I-M-M-S, if a 200X top end could go on a 200S or vice versa, right? Or a 200S top end could go on a 200X. This is a 200S jug, right? 192 cubic centimeters. 192 cubic centimeters. The skirt, well, I'm not sure if that's called the skirt. But anyway, this distance and this distance appear about the same. And if you look at the two of them side by side, what you'll notice is for the 200X, it's bigger. It's just more airspace. But from a gasket point of view, let's get the rotation correct, right? They all look about the same. And they look like they would go on. This is a 200X cylinder or piston, and it had a bad day, right? You can see on the downstroke it let go and continued and caused that trouble. And as a matter of fact, if you continue to look at it, you can see down here that it's damaged by my thumb. So obviously somebody was running the heck out of it and seemed to throw a rod. This also has a lot of play side to side. So I'm wondering about how well it was oiling. But flip them around so that they're both right, intake on top. This is a 200S cylinder. Notice the difference, right? This isn't quite a Hemi, but this is like an inverted Hemi, right? No dome. Actually, this is slightly domed, so we'll pretend it's a Hemi. So if I were doing this swap, I'd probably want to change the top of the piston, because this looks like it'll change. I'd probably want to change the top of the piston, the jug, and the head. This is a 200X head, and this is 200S. And if you look at it for 2 seconds, right, there's a little bearing that goes in there, but these are like different. This doesn't come off, right? So you're gonna end up doing the cam and the whole bit also. I guess by comments, it does look like it'll oil. It looks like the gaskets work. Mounting flange, different than this mounting flange. The question though, will it work? Yes. I think if you say I want to be a 200X and you do the top of the piston, the jug, the head, the cam, the whole bit will work. Or if you say no, I want to be a 200S on top of a 200X, once again, top of the piston, jug, head, cam, and so forth, I think it'll work. Tom Martin actually did a swap. I think he put a 200X head on a 200S, and I remember he was spending quite a bit of time preparing a surface. I'm not sure if it was this surface or this surface or this surface. Something didn't match up, or he didn't have a part or something, so he spent quite a bit of time working on the I believe it was the cam bearing surfaces, one or the other. So I don't know if you guys find this helpful. Personally, for me, I don't think one gets all that much extra. I mean, obviously, if you're putting a 200X on top of a 200S, you get better cooling, which is not a bad thing. I think the 200X cam is a little hotter, which is a good thing. You might end up with a little more valve displacement, a little better opening. You might end up with a little better compression. I mean, so there are some things you get out of it, but what are you going to jack your horsepower up? You're going from 13 to 15. I don't know. If you have, I guess if back in the day when people actually raced these things, right, and you were trying to race at the 200S class and you were trying to squeeze every little bit out of it, so you know, maybe it would pay to do some of that mixing and matching and interesting stuff. But if you're trying to have a long-lived bike, a bike that lives a long time, I would have a tendency to keep everything together, to keep the 200X stuff with the 200X stuff and the 200S stuff with the 200S stuff. 200S, as in Sam stuff, is fairly plentiful. You can also use 185 stuff, and some of the stuff, what is it, the XL 185 swaps on also. XR 185 and 200, some of that stuff swaps around. I don't have a bunch of it, but just from reading the ads, I've noticed they'll say, oh, this goes on this also. So but back to it, if I'm running a 200S stuff is fairly plentiful. I'd have a tendency to stick with all 200S stuff. And if I had 200X stuff that I wanted to do interesting stuff with, I would probably try to get a complete 200X. If I needed a lower end, I'd buy a lower end and smash it together with the top end that I have, or vice versa. I'd have a tendency to keep it together. That's me. Once again, I don't Frankenstein engines too much, because generally I can get a whole bike with a whole engine, or get a whole engine fairly easily. So I know how to take apart an engine and put it back together again. It's just a matter of why, if you don't have to. I guess that's my question. If I had to, I would, but if I don't have to, I won't. So there's that. There is a second question I need to answer, and please excuse my how senile I am. And this is going to be for, I believe it's Calvin. and it has to do with oil problems he's having. So anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and get out there and enjoy all your days. Get out there and have some fun. All right, folks, bye now.